Welcome to the Gita in Action podcast. My name is Radha. I'm here with our family of seekers, and we are reading through the Bhagavad Gita verse by verse, this ancient yogic wisdom text that is so full of relevant wisdom even today, even though it's 5,000 years plus old. And um, our hearts are being transformed. We're living better, more peaceful, more connected lives because of it, because we come together every Monday and Thursday. And the association of like-minded souls and discuss these topics together and how they apply to our lives and try to live a little bit more sincere lives in line with some of these Vedic principles. So that's what we're doing here. And we have a yoga festival coming up in August 28th through the 30th. We're collaborating with different yoga studios and healing practitioners and having all different kinds of offerings. We have Kundalini, we have like a Bikram style, we have arm balances, we have breath work, Ayurveda. We have wisdom classes on the Bhagavad Gita. We have an afternoon where we're making an option. You can choose to go to this one. Mala bracelets. Everything is choose. It's all choose your own adventure. So we have like all these different classes and offerings, and you just make your schedule based off of what you're attracted to. And then we all come together for things like we have a sound bath and kirtan and lots of delicious food. So it's going to be amazing. It's going to be at New Vrindavan, April 28th through the 30th. And I hope you can come. And let me know if you need help or whatever you need to be able to come. Because we're trying to build a community here. We're trying to build a community that is up to something more than just like living life for our own whimsical pleasure, which isn't always bad, but at the same time, life can be so much more meaningful than that. And we're finding that together in this community, and we're supporting each other through the journey. So, so we have that in August, and then we have a women's trip to Guatemala in November, the 7th through the 14th, and that they're both filling up. So if you want to stay on site for the yoga festival, I'd recommend signing up soon. And same with Guatemala. Guatemala, we're a little over halfway full. So we have some spots left and would love to have you. It's very affordable, very accessible. I think the price is like $1,200 for everything for a full week. All the shuttles, all the activities. I just talked to our host yesterday, actually. Talked to her about some of the activities. We're going to have like a Guatemalan fire ceremony. We're gonna do some cultural things. We're gonna go on a waterfall hike. We're gonna visit a sustainability village. All kinds of things and lots of connection and kirtan as well because we're bringing Miss Brinde, our kirtan star. So it will be wonderful. Also, we have a private chef for that one to prepare some delicious vegetarian food. So you don't have to worry about anything. It's just everything just happens for you. You just relax, connect, go inside. That's what we're doing for a week in Guatemala. So please come. Okay, let's start the Gita. Um, Shraddhanjali, do you want to say our prayers for us?
Sure. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jana Jana Salakaya Chakshuran Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Namane Vanchakopa Charubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Bevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Srila Prabhupada ki. Yeah.
Jai. Beautiful. Thank you. Okay, so we are starting in the 12th chapter today. We're starting the 12th chapter, and we're going to start with text 10. So, chapter 12, text 10. But before we begin today's verses, I just want to recap quickly where we've been, because we're building something really beautiful here in this section. So in verses 8 and 9, the prior two verses to where we're starting today, Krishna began describing what we call the ladder of devotion. The ladder of devotion. So first he gave the highest rung, like the North Star, like where our ultimate goal as spiritualists, as bhakti practitioners is to fix the mind on God always. Fix the mind on God always. And that way we're always in God consciousness, living in constant remembrance of him. And then Krishna immediately became, very compassionate and practical. And he acknowledged that most of us aren't fully there yet. Like that's a pretty tall order for most of us to always be thinking of God. So in verse 9, he says, if you can't do that steadily, no problem. Just practice. Just practice. Just practice bringing the mind back again and again. Create some discipline around your spiritual life. And through that practice, your attraction to God will gradually awaken. And this is a relief, because Krishna's not demanding instant perfection from us. He's meeting us where we are, and he's helping us take the next step forward. And when I say Krishna, if you're not familiar with this, with Krishna, Krishna is a name of God. It means all attractive, right? Because God is all attractive. And so when we say Krishna, I mean God. And God is not, no religion has a monopoly on God. God is not sectarian. We all worship the same God. And we call God Krishna because it means all attractive. Because we know God is all attractive, right? So today we're going to move into the next verses. Krishna's going to continue to lower the ladder even further. So he's basically meeting us wherever we are. He's accommodating us wherever we are, saying, wherever you are, you can make progress towards me. So he's going to explain how accessible spiritual life is. And this is really powerful because Krishna's not looking for us to be like flawless, for us to be perfect. He's looking for us to be sincere, and to be willing to gradually connect our lives to him. Gradually. It doesn't happen overnight, typically. And oftentimes, if it does, it's not real sustainable. So it's kind of a gradual redirection from that which is material and temporary to that which is spiritual and eternal. So that's today's verses. They're deeply hopeful because they show us that no matter where we are, spiritually and materially, no matter what's in your life, Krishna will always give us a way forward. And this is reassuring, because a lot of religions also kind of portray God as like this controlling, judgmental, kind of tough. But in the Gita, we see how compassionate and loving and merciful God is. We don't have to be so hard on ourselves all the time because God's not. God loves us. God offers us, wherever we are, God shows us a way to him. At the same time, we don't want to take that for granted and be a little bit lax. We want to be sincere and devoted and headed in the right direction, the direction that Krishna gives us. And so that's what he's giving us here, a roadmap to him from wherever we are. So we're going to start in text 10. Let me share my screen. Hmm, I don't see. Let's see. Okay, there it is. Text 10. Oh no, I just clicked the wrong chapter. Sorry. Chapter 12, text 10. This is a short chapter. There's only 20 verses in this chapter, so we're moving right along. Okay, whenever you're ready, Shraddhanjali.
Abhasyati asma martosi mat karma paramo bhava matartam api karmani kurvansit him yasi. If you cannot practice the regulations of bhakti yoga, then just try to work for me, because by working for me, you will come to the perfect stage.
Thank you. 1 second. Okay. So here again, Krishna's continuing to lower the ladder of devotion even further here. So first he says, fix your mind on me constantly. Okay, then he says, if you can't do that, then practice bringing the mind back and instill a little regulation and discipline into your life. Some guardrails. And now he says, if that feels difficult, then simply just work for me. He's just making it so accessible. It's like almost someone's trapped at the bottom of a well. A person throws down a rope and says, reach all the way up and grab it. Stand on your tippy toes, reach your hands over your head and grab the rope. And the person says, I can't reach that high. So the person at the top of the well says, no problem. And they lower the rope a little bit further. And then they say, okay, just stretch a little. You don't even have to stand on your tippy toes. Just stretch a little. And the person at the well says, I still can't do that. That's still too far for me. And then the person at the top of the well says, no problem. I'll lower it all the way down. Just wrap it around yourself and I'll pull you up. This is what Krishna is offering us here. He just keeps extending his mercy lower and lower so that no one is excluded. And he says something really reassuring. He says, even by working for me, one can attain perfection. So this means that we don't have to be monks or mystics or people sitting in caves meditating all day to make spiritual progress. Even ordinary work can become spiritualized when it's connected to God. And Krishna gives two practical levels here. So he says, work for me. So that the first level is working for doing service that directly contributes to his mission. Trying to spread God consciousness, bring people back to him, teaching, helping at programs, supporting spiritual communities, sharing wisdom, and then the next level is offering the fruits of our work. So maybe someone works a regular job, raises a family, runs a business. Krishna says that even ordinary life can become bhakti when the results are consciously offered back to him. So if you make money, if you have a good job and you make money, you can donate part of your income. Or you can if you have a nice home, you can, or even if you don't, if you have a home, you can use your home for spiritual gatherings. If you have a family, you can maintain your family in a God conscious way. Your family itself, your home can become an ashram, which means that it's centered around God. And this is reassuring because it reach wherever you are, you can offer your work to God. And Krishna consciousness can exist right in the middle of family life. And even if your family members are not spiritual practitioners, are not outwardly, pursuing this path of God realization, they're still parts of God. And we can still think, Krishna has placed me in this situation for a reason. So let me serve him by caring for these people, materially and spiritually, as best as I can. So there's no excuse. We can still do this. And this changes everything. The activities may externally remain the same. Your life may look the exact same. You're working, you're cooking, you're parenting, you're cleaning, organizing, providing, but the consciousness shifts. The consciousness shifts, and this is what spiritualizes the activity. So whatever we're doing, we can offer it. And we don't let's see. Something done only for the ego binds us materially. If we're going around working just so that I can get money so that I can enjoy, we're just getting more bound to material energy. And we're not really progressing in our spiritual life. But if we do the same thing and we offer the results to God, then this is going to gradually elevate and purify our heart. And this purification, it doesn't require perfection from the very beginning. So we can approach something and we can still have some mixed motives. You know, like I want to make some money so I can enjoy, but I'll still give a little bit of it to Krishna's service. Okay. You know, it might be a little imperfect, no problem. Even just that little bit that we can offer, Krishna will accept. And through that process, love of God will slowly awaken until it won't even be a second thought. Yeah, of course we want to give half of what we make to God. So this is the process, and from wherever we are, we can start now, and Krishna will purify our hearts so that it becomes more and more parts of our lives. Shraddhanjali, do you have something to share with us?
Yeah, this verse had a huge impact on my life at a time when I was really new to Krishna consciousness.
Mm.
Um, and it was I had we had three little kids, and I had been starting to read a lot of books. It was like 1993, 94, 95 kind of thing. And I had been to temples, and we'd gone to Dallas, and like I had this idea, like, when you're new, like, oh, you have to do it all in this, like, make garlands and like do all the things. And but here we were in Iowa with no temple, three little kids running around. I had just started a part-time nighttime job, and I was really stressing out because I didn't like, doing everything. Like, Carl was working hard and all that stuff. And I was really praying. I was like, I can't be a devotee. I was like, I can't be a devotee. I'm like, I'm a mom of three little tiny kids, and I'm working, like, and the whole house and the whole thing. And I was praying about it, like, for at least 6 months. Like, I was in this state, and I would read books and feel sad because I couldn't be a devotee, right? And then I had a dream about Srila Prabhupada, and he was just so kind. He was like looking at me like with kindness. And I woke up, and you know how you wake up from a really important dream and you're like jazzed, right? And I was like, I woke up, I was like, I've got to go down and look at the Gita. And I ran downstairs, like, it was really early in the morning. I went right to our bookcase. We just had a simple little, like, altar on top. And I grabbed the Gita, and I did that, like, just opened it in random. And it was this verse 10. And I burst into sobbing tears, and I thanked Srila Prabhupada, and I thought, I can do it, because I just have to do my regular work duty. Like, I could raise my kids, I could serve my husband, I could go to work. It was okay. It was like he was saying, it's okay. You're just at this point in your life. And then when I
Wow.
told my other devotees, and I, like, you talk to other devotees, and my brother-in-law said, your service is your children right now. That is your devotional service. And when you go to work, and even like going to work changed for me, because I was like, oh, I'm working for Krishna. I'm not just working to pay bills. So
Mhm.
like I can go to work with that consciousness and see it as his gift to me that I'm able to do this. So it was like it totally shifted everything and I felt so much better. So I was really excited about this verse because it lives in my heart like deeply.
Wow. That's an incredible story. Thank you so much for sharing that with us. And for those of you who don't know, Srila Prabhupada uh, came to America from India in the 60s to translate these books and to give us this message, this Vedic wisdom. And so he's like our teacher. We hold him in very high regard for all the sacrifice that he made to do this. He was very old. I mean, he was like 60 something when he came over, and and he traveled the world so many times around, establishing so many temples and um, and processes for God realization, and that's why we're all here. Um, so that's really powerful and so true. I could totally relate to that, and I think so many of us here can relate to that. We just have so many family responsibilities, work, kids, spouse, that it's sometimes it's like, where am I going to fit in my spiritual life? But yeah, this verse tells us wherever your life is right now, whatever's in your life today, you can spiritualize it. And you can spiritualize it by offering the work to God. So we do it in that mood. Yeah. And slowly over time, it will change and it will become more and more of an offering. Um, and as your consciousness becomes more and more purified. Beautiful. Thank you. For me, I think sometimes that means just showing up in a more loving and compassionate way for my family. When I'm frustrated that things aren't going my way, or I don't have time to do the things that I want to do, or I'm overtired or overstressed, still showing up, still, putting my phone down and hanging and playing with my child, still, noticing that my husband is overtired and asking him, if I can cook something for him. But this is service to God. Doing this in that mood of, this is my service to God, taking care of these people that God has entrusted in my care so that they can grow materially and spiritually. This is service to God. And when we have that consciousness around it, it changes the service, it changes us, and it changes our relationship with God. And it's magic. And because then the byproduct is that it changes our relationship with everything around us and everyone around us. Suddenly your relationship with your spouse becomes stronger and sweeter because God's at the center. And that's what it means. So that's this verse is reminding us, and I think we're all very touched by Shraddhanjali's story, and we'll carry that around in our hearts with us. That we are God fully accommodates us. Even if we're not accommodating him, even if our lives are so full, we can't really accommodate him right now. He'll accommodate us. He keeps meeting us where we are and giving us another way forward. This is the compassion of God. He simply just wants to bring every soul back to him step by step. That's his only agenda. Just come back to me where you belong. Okay, should we move on to the next verse, 11? So nice.
Atatad api asaktosi kartumad yogam asritaha sarva karma palatyagam tataha kuruyatamavan. If, however, you are unable to work in this consciousness of me, then try to act giving up all results of your work. and try to be self-situated.
This is a really nice verse. This again, Krishna's just lowering the ladder, the ladder. He says, if you can't fully dedicate everything to me, that's okay. Start somewhere. Start by becoming less selfish. We could all improve a little bit by becoming less selfish. And this is such an important principle because most of us spend our lives trapped in me-centered consciousness. Isn't it? Like, why isn't that person considering me? Or am I successful enough? Am I behind? Am I better than them or am I worse than them? This is like our constant meditation. And when the mind becomes obsessed with this I, it becomes like a black hole that just puts us deeper into anxiety and comparison and insecurity, or arrogance, loneliness. It just goes on and on. We think that becoming more self-focused will help us find ourselves, but usually the opposite happens. We actually lose ourselves in this black hole of I-centeredness because we're not designed to put ourselves in the center. We're designed to put God in the center. And through that, we connect with ourselves, with others, and most importantly, with God. And this concept, Krishna is explaining something that we see in our lives all the time, and that as we go through life, hopefully we learn, is that we often find ourselves by giving ourselves to something greater than ourselves. Like people feel most alive when they're deeply absorbed in something meaningful. You think about the times that you feel most alive. It's when you're deeply absorbed in something very purposeful, like serving others or raising children, creating something beautiful, helping a cause, making a difference, loving deeply. Because what happens when we're engaged in activities like this is this self-obsession starts dissolving. And bhakti takes this principle to its highest expression because for love of God, which is the highest love that one can experience and that one is actually designed for. This is actually our constitutional position. It's just love for God, servants of God, because love is expressed through service. But if you're not there yet, no problem. Just practice this principle of taking yourself out of the center and serving something or someone greater than yourself. And see how it starts to transform your consciousness. See how it starts to lift you up. See how it starts to make you a better person. So the goal of bhakti, of spiritual practice, is not that we sit around all day just repeating like I'm not the body, I'm not the body. Like, yes, we're not the body. We're not the body, we're not the mind, we're a spirit soul. And this is important understanding. But where we're really trying to get to, is this meditation of how can I serve God? How can I use my life in a meaningful way? How can I help others connect spiritually? This is really the kind of consciousness we want to aspire to. And as consciousness becomes absorbed in service, this self-consciousness that we once had, that we walked in with, slowly transforms into self-realization. So it's a process. You might not really feel like your meditation daily is how can I help others connect spiritually? But if you just start serving, it will gradually transform. Your I-centered consciousness will slowly transform into self-realization. And the difference between self-consciousness, excuse me, the difference between self-consciousness and self-realization is that when we're self-conscious, we're always thinking about how I'm being perceived. It's again, it's just completely I focused. It's I centered. Self-realization is realizing and understanding who I really am at the level of the soul as a part and parcel of God. So you think about, the first time you have to speak in front of a group of people. Most people will feel painfully self-conscious. Your mind starts spiraling like, do I sound weird? Is what I'm saying making sense? Do I look nervous? What do people think of me? This kind of self-focus never brings peace. But when somebody becomes absorbed in service, contribution, purpose, devotion, the obsession with themselves starts loosening. And gradually deeper spiritual awareness awakens. I have experienced this firsthand in the service that I do in giving classes and planning retreats and connecting with people. Because there was a time that I had no interest because I was so self-conscious. I was so like, what are people going to think of me? What if I get rejected? What if I'm not good enough? What if I don't do it right? There's like all of these I-centered blockers that were like keeping me from really having much interest. But then I had a teacher, Beta Sar, who just kept pushing me, just kind of like kept pushing me, just do something. Hey, how about you do this podcast with me? Hey, how about you plan this retreat and I'll come support you. He was like he just offered me like a little hand, like I just felt like I wasn't alone and he was in that way he was like there for me in a way that I really needed. I wouldn't have done by myself. But what I saw is that as I got deeper and deeper into the service, I became more and more connected to the mission and less concerned about what it meant for myself. Like, okay, people are going to judge me. That's okay. People are not going to be into what I'm saying. That's okay. I just got more and more focused. And I started, and then the service just became a meditation for me. Like just somebody asked me the other day, like, why do you do all this stuff? Somebody at work asked me this, why do you do all this stuff? Because it's a lot of work and it's not like I'm making any money doing all of this stuff. And I said, it just makes me feel closer to God. And he said, oh, it's like your meditation. It's like, yeah, it's like my meditation. And that's what it becomes for us. And it takes time, but gradually, as we try our best to offer the fruits to Krishna, and of course our motives are going to be mixed at first because we're mixed bags and we've got a lot of conditioning to work out. So expect that. But as we give what we can, Krishna will purify us and bring us closer to him and will become less self-conscious and more self-realized. And that self-realization is a is the is a test is it comes as our connection with God deepens, that self-realization comes. We realize who we really are in connection to God. And this is the greatest joy of life. This is the greatest fulfillment of the heart. Everything else starts kind of feeling empty once you have like little glimpses of this. So why would I work for money? You know, why would I work so I can go on I can buy a bigger house and a nicer car? Like, who cares? What is that going to do for me? How is that going to fulfill my heart? So this is the process. And and Krishna's saying that even sacrifice itself has this transformative power. So even if someone can't fully practice Krishna consciousness right now, if your family is not supportive and not really, and it's just really difficult for you to practice God consciousness now because of responsibilities, family limitations, whatever it is, just work on this principle of selflessness. And this is Krishna's instruction here. This is part of the ladder of bhakti. You just start with being less selfish. So if you can't fully commit to spiritual practice, but you can contribute to some good causes, you can help others, you can live with the spirit of sacrifice. This is progress. And this is why the Gita never encourages us to look down on people just because they aren't externally, religious or part of a spiritual organization. Someone may not externally identify as super devotional, but if they're sincerely trying to care for others, to sacrifice for others, to live beyond pure selfishness, then there's real growth happening there. There's real growth happening there. Their hearts are becoming prepared, and this is still progress. So this is just Krishna just keeps lowering the ladder of mercy again and again so that everyone has a place to begin. And for us, when we see these things in the world, when we see people doing good things for others, we should feel happy. We should feel like this is they're preparing their soil for for God realization, the soil in their heart, for that bhakti creeper to come and take root and grow and bear the fruits of God realization, even if they don't really have a relationship with or appear to have a relationship with God. Things are still happening inside of their heart. So this is encouraging for us all, wherever you are, even if your family members won't let you practice bhakti. Even if you're in somewhere where it's like impossible, start by being a little less selfish. This is Krishna's instruction. And this is encouraging for all of us because spiritual life is not about pretending that we're already perfect. It's about taking the next sincere step forward. For some of us, maybe today that step is full devotion. For others, maybe it's just becoming a little less selfish than yesterday. And Krishna is saying that they both have tremendous value as long as we're sincerely trying, walking forward. So this is a very reassuring verse. I really appreciate this verse. Does anybody want to share anything before I move on to the next verse? I'm noticing my camera's a little blurry. Any shares?
I like
Yes,
the,
Chantal.
oh, sorry.
Yeah, let's hear Chantal and then Kay.
Good morning.
Good
Yes,
morning.
this verse is literally my life. I mean, as you're talking, I'm sitting here pulling grass out of my rose garden for the community center that I volunteer for, and I volunteer for to bring yoga to the community, right? This is where I teach my yoga. This community center has been gifted to me to provide yoga to people here in Lake Wales. So with that, I have started to tend to the gardens, mow the yards, take care of the building, shine up the floors. And although none of this is asked of me, and everybody keeps going, why do you keep doing this? You homeschool your kids, you're running a business, you clean after events, you clean after weddings, you're, doing this, you're over here, you're doing library stuff with your kids. Why are you adding this? You're not getting paid. I don't need to get paid. I don't want to get paid. And every time I'm out here doing this, I'm listening to kirtan or I'm thinking about God, or now I've been listening to you, and it just makes it that much sweeter. Um,
Mm,
so this verse is my life. Everything I have been doing, it's just amazing, Radha. I'm so glad I found you guys. I'm gonna try not to cry. God has been in my life so much more in the last couple of weeks. I mean, he's always been in my life, but synchronicities, this was meant to be. And I'll leave it there. That verse right now is my life.
mm. We're so happy to have you here, Chantal. And so excited to meet you in August. Hopefully, you and your husband will be able to come, and that will be wonderful. Thank you. Thank you for sharing, and thank you for being you. Service to others. This This is what brings the most satisfaction to the heart. Spiritual seekers from the beginning of time have come to this realization. And it is simple, but it's actually it can be very difficult in practice because we're so conditioned with this I mentality. So what do? Just try. From wherever you are, whatever you have, whatever amount of time you have, whatever resources, just try to offer it to something or someone higher than yourself. Really nice. Thank you. Should we do, oh, sure. Kay, do you want to share, Kay?
Yeah. Uh, we are talking about living in the mode of sacrifice, and our Srila Prabhupada is such a big example. And of course, what you're doing, and just now what Chantal was talking about, and because of people, so many people who work in the mode of sacrifice, that's why the world is so nice and beautiful. Imagine people working just for their own selfishness and to pay the bills, to raise their family, how it would be. So it is so nice because of so many people like you. So I just wanted to say that. Thank you.
Thank you, Kay. Kay is also quite a giver. Every time I see Kay, she brings me bags of clothes she got me in India. I love those clothes, not just because they're nice clothes, but because they remind me of Kay and her selfless heart. And then they inspire me to be more selfless. And that's how it works, right? Thank you. Okay. Should we do this last verse, 212, and wrap up this section? 212.
Shreyo hi yanam jayanam vivisyate jayanat karma phala chagskas tyagak chantir anantaram. If you cannot take to this practice, then engage yourself in the cultivation of knowledge. Better than knowledge, however, is meditation. And better than meditation is renunciation of the fruits of action. For by such renunciation, one can achieve peace of mind.
Thank you. So this is the final verse of this section in the 12th chapter. And one important thing to understand in this verse is when Krishna talks about renouncing the fruits of action, he's referring to working for God and offering the results of our work to him. So this work connected to God becomes bhakti. And earlier in the Gita, Krishna described a staircase of spiritual development. We talked about this for the first 6 chapters. First there's karma yoga. This is where a person is still active in the world, but it is gradually learning detachment. And then jnana yoga, where one begins understanding, I'm not this body. I'm not this body. I'm a spirit soul. And then meditation comes, where the consciousness just becomes more internally absorbed in spiritual reality. And then finally bhakti, which is just direct loving devotion to God. So there's this gradual progression, from matter to spirit to meditation to relationship with God. And along the way your understanding of God deepens. And so Krishna's showing that when our work becomes connected to him, even ordinary activity can become part of that spiritual ascent. So this is like what was described in the first verse we talked about, when our work is offered to God. And Krishna says that that through this offering one gradually attains peace. Because so much of our anxiety comes from attachment to outcomes. If we think about it, like, what if I fail? What if people don't appreciate me? What if life doesn't go the way I planned? but when work becomes an offering instead of an project for the ego, it makes the heart lighter. We can actually like we still work hard, we still care, but internally we're not trying to control everything for our own validation and perception of happiness. And this surrender, it brings us peace of mind. Because we're going to experience a certain amount of happiness in this world. We're going to experience a certain amount of distress, but it's not really for us to control. And when we realize that is never really ours to control anyway, and we just offer the fruits of our action to God, that's where we actually get this deep, sustaining happiness and fulfillment. Not when we're trying to manipulate material energy for our own enjoyment. We're just gonna be on this Ferris wheel of frustration and then relief because something worked out in line with what we wanted, and then frustration when the next thing doesn't. And then anxiety that we're gonna end up back down. When we're at the top of the Ferris wheel, we're anxious that we're gonna fall back down. This is the cycle. This is what happens when we're trapped by the ego. So in summary, Krishna is explaining that there's two ways of progressing spiritually towards the highest goal, love of God. Okay, one is the gradual path. It's a staircase up. We've talked about that quite a bit. Karma yoga, jnana yoga, dhyan yoga, bhakti yoga. And then there's the elevator ride up. This is the direct path, the elevator ride up. The elevator ride up is bhakti. It's direct devotional service to God. This is the direct path. Instead of approaching God gradually through multiple stages, bhakti just immediately connects us to him through relationship. And this is really important. But Krishna understands that not everyone is ready for the direct path immediately. Not everyone is ready for that intimate relationship with God. So this is why the Gita offers so many different levels of spiritual practice, like wherever you are. Some people are ready for deep devotion. Others need some purification, need some discipline, need some knowledge, some detachment before they're ready to go there. And that's okay. But the Gita consistently emphasizes that bhakti, love and devotion for God and for all of his living creatures that are connected to him, is the ultimate goal. And this relationship is the highest realization. Bhakti is like the difference between reading about someone and actually knowing them personally. Like anybody ever dated online and you go and you look at the profile and you're like, oh, this person sounds so great. And then you meet them personally. And if, you're fortunate, like my husband and I were, you meet them personally. My husband and I met online, and you think, and you feel much more connected to that person than you did just reading about them. Even though reading about them, it was good. You had you analyzed them, you thought about them a lot. It filled your heart a little bit. But meeting them in person and having that loving relationship is quite different. It was just much deeper. And so this is what Krishna's ultimately inviting us into. Not just understanding him philosophically, but actually developing a loving relationship with him. And this is the purpose of the bhakti practice. The bhakti practice teaches us how to do this. Have a loving relationship with God right here, right now. And it's that relationship that purifies and transforms you. Because it's the highest. It's the highest relationship that you'll ever have. So the gradual path is absolutely valuable and respected. But Krishna continually encourages us towards this direct path of devotion. Because ultimately love is what the soul is really searching for. So if you give a little love to the heart, everything just awakens. You become purified. You're not even drawn to the things that were not good for you. It doesn't take so much discipline because you're in love. You don't want what pulls you out of that. Why would you? So ultimately, what makes these verses so beautiful is that they reveal the heart of Krishna. This is something we should all take away. Krishna, God is not cold, demanding, waiting to reject us because we're imperfect. No, God is deeply compassionate and endlessly accommodating. And we should remember this the next time that we're hard on ourselves or somebody else. God is deeply compassionate and endlessly accommodating. Again and again throughout these verses, we see him lower the ladder of devotion. Not to lower the goal, but to make the goal accessible to every single person. So if you can fix your mind on him constantly, wonderful, that's the highest goal. If not, practice. If that's difficult, then work for him. And if even that feels difficult, then begin just by becoming a little less selfish and offering the results of your work. This is the progression that we talked about in this section. Krishna just keeps meeting us where we are and helps us take the next sincere step forward. And this should give us all hope. Because the number one thing that we should really realize and walk away, to people that are regular in this class and becoming regular in this class, is that spiritual life is not about pretending to already be perfect. We're not pretending here. It's about gradually redirecting the heart towards God. That's what we're trying to do here in all of our imperfectness. And that takes a pretty radical assessment of where we are and where we're not. And being okay with that. And at the same time, doing our best to take steps forward. And so this is what we see in this section. Spiritual life, it's not reserved just for monks, mystics, people living in caves. Bhakti can exist right in the middle of ordinary life. Through our work, through our relationships, our sacrifices, our service, our intentions, and our consciousness. This is what we really need to become aware of, our consciousness. And over time, when we repeatedly offer our lives back to God, what once felt like discipline gradually becomes nourishment. What once may have felt forced gradually becomes natural. What once felt distance becomes our relationship. So this is the journey that Krishna is inviting us into. This journey from self-centeredness to love. From anxiety to peace. And ultimately from separation to connection with him. This is why we're all here. This is where we're all trying to go together. And this is all that I had for you today. Do we have any shares before we end? Oh, Shraddhanjali, I didn't see your hand up. Please share with us.
I just wanted to say, like, this whole class was amazing and great. But
Best class ever.
about time you said. But actually, watching Chantel do gardening during this, I felt like she was preparing the soil of our hearts and plucking out the weeds. I just love it, Chantel. You just made this class so wonderful. Thank you.
I'm sorry, and you're welcome. I wasn't sure if it would be distracting, but I didn't want to have like myself on a black screen. So
No, I was totally getting into that whole metaphor of the garden of our hearts, and you're preparing the soil and plucking the weeds, and it just totally resonated. I love it. I hope to meet you someday.
me
But
too.
you
If
too,
you're
Shraddhanjali.
Yeah, and if you're gonna be in West Virginia in August, we are definitely going to I'm budgeting and I'm going to get up there. So I would love to meet you guys in person.
Well, yeah,
Thank you.
we're gonna be. We have other commitments during that time, but I'm try to get to the Guatemala retreat. So if you can do that, that would be amazing too.
We're working on that for Chantal also. But this is amazing. This is the first time I've heard this from you, Stella. It's so exciting. Keep me posted. That's music to my ears.
It just happened because I
Today.
just this morning during this class.
Amazing. Oh, wow. Great. That makes my day. My day is made. Thank you. Katie, what do you have for us?
Hare Krishna. Sorry, you can hear my turn signal driving as usual. Um, I just I'm feeling very grateful because um I really needed the theme of this. Like get back to the focus, of service. Um, because like with my new job with the dementia care activities, um, it's been really challenging for, I mean, obvious reasons, but like also, there's a tough manager who's not my manager, but she's the floor manager. And, I'm getting really like over focused on like avoiding her and, just feeling like losing my focus on the reason I wanted to change and do this type of work is service, and also trying to think about making it less me, like, oh, she must be thinking this, or this, I'm not enjoying this, and it's fair. Like, it's fair. It's tough, to have an experience where you're like, wow, I thought this would go better. And like, that's totally fine. I'm actually grateful for it not going as well. So I'm not getting as attached, um, to the role. But yeah, it was just really helpful to think again about like, take myself out of the center, like try to focus on what I can enjoy by putting it back in a service mood, which was like the point anyway.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, it's kind of it in a nutshell. So thanks so much. And
Hmm.
it was just so nice to hear from everyone. And actually in the beginning, Shraddhanjali reminded me, like, I've also been having trouble sleeping with different new stage pregnancy stuff like indigestion. And but last night I finally like got back to sleep and I was dreaming that I was with Rukmini at a temple and our friend Shamla Priya was there, who some of us, had the experience of a gardening themed lecture with her recently. And it's
Hmm.
just been nice to like in the last months, it's kind of new for me to be dreaming about like bhakti stuff.
Hmm.
Um, so that's been really cool. So I thought I would just throw that in there because I forgot about the dream until Shraddhanjali mentioned your story
Hmm.
at the beginning. So thank you all very much.
Hmm. Thank you. Thank you, Katie.
All right,
Very cool. Anuradha, I think you had your hand up at one time, and we would love to hear from you if you're able to come off mute and share with us. There you are.
Good
Good.
morning. Yeah, Rada, that's really a lovely class with lots of great realizations. I also felt I think I raised my hand after Chantal shared, as you all know, we're all into gardening here as well. But I was also just thinking about this, um, exercising this giving muscle, and how beautiful it is when that muscle is just growing and becoming just naturally generous. And the more you use it, the more capacity you give it. And then the other
Mm.
thing I feel like it comes up a lot. People say, "I'm not getting paid for this," and we
Mm.
connect so many things to money, and money is just it's like this. It's like a moving target. You know what I mean? It's like it's
Mm.
constantly like the goalpost always shifts. Even I grew up as a very philanthropic child, a philanthropic, it was just very much a part of my life. But that was also always moving. The goalpost was always moving, and it never really gave me satisfaction. So I
Mm.
just feel like giving, you can't really, that can't really be taken away, that feeling that you get that permanent returns, in your mind. So I really
Mm.
appreciated those sharing from Chantal and then Kay and then Stella. Thank you.
Mm. Yeah, I like that. Like giving is like an investment, and the consciousness is what's with us all the time.
And getting
So,
away from transactional to
mm.
relationship. I'm not
Mm.
getting paid is so transactional, whereas I get joy out of giving is so relational.
Mm.
Yes.
Yes.
Right? Giving is an investment. I guys, you're taking the words right out of my mouth. It's exactly what I've been trying to explain to people. It's not about the money. It's not about the effort. It's about the joy to see the faces of my students when they come onto the property and they see the rose bushes, they see the flowers, they see the yard, right? It's about feeling their joy, feeling how, when they come here, they say this place is a sanctuary. And even that, like, it doesn't feed the ego for me. For me, that's God. What I am doing is God. So, and even when students thank me about the gardens and stuff, I almost feel wrong for saying you're welcome or answering back. I'm like, it's not me. I'm doing it because it needs to be done. And my husband and I had a conversation. He goes, yeah, but it is you. You also have to realize you are working for God. God is working through you. It's the scripture, it's God, it's you, it's a combination. I'm like, that's still weird for me to accept, but yeah, it's an investment, right? Work without attachment to the fruits of your labor. I've used that verse so many times in class.
Beautiful. Thank you, Chantal. Thank you, Shraddhanjali. Thank you, Anu. Thank you, everybody who shared. So enriching. Okay, my friends, is that all for today?
Hare Krishna, Hare Bol.
Hare Krishna.
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna.
Hare Krishna,
Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Bol.
Krishna, everyone.
Hare Krishna.
Thank
Hare
you.
Krishna. Thank you.
See you all
Thank
next
you,
week.
everyone. Haribol.
Thank you.